I think it's quiet because, well, let's just try this. Oh, now I hear. Am I muted? No.
Good morning.
I met him.
Hello.
Good morning again.
Good morning again.
Hello, good people.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
All right, we have a full house here. It's awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. We have a lot of fun updates, and yeah, probably will take up the entire time. So first of all, I want to say that I'm just back from London. We arrived last night, so we did a whirlwind trip. We left. We left Wednesday afternoon last week, and got back just last night. We were visiting. We were invited to Imogen Heap's mycelial launch, which was out at her place. There were many movers and shakers from the music industry and the blockchain space, copyright law. A lot of good folks. Vinay Gupta was there, so as some people who are in the blockchain space might know. And I had a wonderful opportunity to speak with Materium's chief technologist. He asked me a lot of good questions about RChain, and I think he was excited by the answers. And then Natasha and I went back for Imogen's birthday party the next day. So that was also quite a lot of fun. I'm very excited to see what she has in store for her world tour, and I'm very interested in her creative passport identity solution. And I hope that RChain can play a significant role in making that or giving that a technological basis. As well as it's sort of grounding her creative impulses in some bits that actually work at scale. So yeah, so there's a lot of really good engagement. There was a very nice panel that included everyone from Zoe Keating, the cellist, to one of the principals of the Open Music Initiative. There was a great deal of interest in notions of identity and being able to track music, but there was also, track sort of the creation of music. But there was also a general understanding that, sometimes that gets in the way of creativity, and that a lot of creativity these days has to do with mashups and taking stems and mixing them together to create new and unexpected results. So it was really a very interesting London calling. Yes, that's right. So there was a lot of very open minds, a lot of goodwill, and interest in sort of seeing a different way to share music. No, it was not. His name was Mihai, not Ian Greek. So yeah, the opportunity for RChain is significant, and the opportunity to serve musicians and many of the creatives who have essentially seen a lot of their livelihoods crumble away as a result of the way distribution happens on the internet. To serve them and sort of reinvigorate that marketplace, I think is quite significant. So I'm very, very excited about the opportunity there. And then Mike and I had a brief but good conversation. I'm very excited about what we're doing with the Rolang 0.2 spec, which updates it against the work that we've been doing over the last few weeks to make sure that we close up gaps and we know what the scope is, what's in and what's out, and what's in Mercury versus what's in Venus, and those kinds of things. With that, I think what I'd like to do is hand it over to Meta to give an update in terms of the progress of the team, and maybe introduce some new folks on the team.
Yes, thank you, Greg. So we can start with the introduction. So we've got a new developer that joined the core group, Yaroslav from Belarus.
Yes.
I'm going to turn it over to him, and he can tell us a little bit about himself.
Yes, I'm from Belarus. I'm formerly a developer in financial AI, cryptocurrency exchanges, trading platforms, algo trading systems for traditional exchanges and for betting exchanges like Betfair. Also, I've worked on functional computer languages like Nimer, and now I'm joined to the team to do my best to make everything go forward.
Thank you for that. We're very excited about having Yaroslav on the team. He's going to be working on the storage layer and helping to move that ball down the field. We need to make some good, solid progress on storage. So welcome to the group, Yaroslav. We're very excited to have you on board.
Thank you.
Thank you. So my status for the development team, we exited Sprint 6, and I'm happy that, to report as part of our iterative improvement, we performed a merge to master, which is something we wanted to do. We want to be in a frequent cadence, a compelling up to modern day compiler tools, because we need an interpreter to ship with the SDK. So the goal of the SDK
for some percussion. Darn, it went away. I don't know who was making it, but if you know who was making it, PM me later so I can sample that for some percussion. So the other kind of variable are those are ports or channels, and you can think of them as effectively the only kind of mutable variable, and therefore they're lock protected to handle. Oh, cool! Those were fast mouse clicks. You must be really just coming up to speed on Rolang. So that's one of the reasons this driving some of the surface area design, and hopefully we'll go over that a bit more in upcoming weeks with some of these developer channels that we are hoping to begin to establish. Okay, so then moving along, we have I just need to say that since Jacob and Medora's to purchase Rock, this has exploded. There's now nearly $7 million worth of offers on the table from the community to purchase Rock. And the co-op is committed to being fair to everyone. So I just need to make the community aware that we will honor the terms of the private sale with respect to volume and discounts. Obviously, we cannot accept prices that are below the market price, but offers that come in above the market price and have the volume the volume markers that were laid out in the private sale, and you can discover those by clicking on the private sale documentation. We will honor those same discounts. The co-op will not be considering offers after the 31st. So if you are motivated, if you have been motivated by this recent activity, then obviously the co-op and the board has to consider seriously any offers that are put on the table. So again, we are not soliciting offers. I'm reporting to the community what has happened as a result of attention being focused by Medora's offer. So if there are any questions about the details of the offers that have been laid out to the co-op, please contact me on Discord, and we'll make sure to let everyone know what's in front of the co-op. Again, radical transparency.
So if I could chime in, is the price gonna be at today's price, or the offer like when I made the offer? Today is a big difference in the prices.
Yeah, I understand. So again, we're not taking the value on ETH Delta as indicative, because there's simply not enough volume, right? We have much greater volume came from the redemption process in the private sale. So we're aggregating all of that to consider what is kind of the market price. Yeah, so that's the way we're thinking about it.
Okay, thanks.
Sure, absolutely. Any other questions there?
So what is the market price being offered?
I have to go and do I haven't been able to calculate anything since I just got off the plane a few hours ago. But happy to.
Yeah, let me know.
Okay, sure, absolutely. Okay. Any other questions about that work?
Do we need more money?
Who asked that question? Was that Brandon?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So we made a calculation back in the fall, late summer, early fall, that depending on how I interpret your comment. So I'm getting some weird echo whenever you speak, Brandon. Do you have two people with their audio on?
I think it's just his
Yeah,
mic.
so if we're at 20 million now, then aren't we way above what we were initially looking to get?
Yeah, but see, we don't know how that market will shake out, right? And I also have to get Lisa to come back and give us a financial statement. We don't know exactly where the assets are now, but yes, roughly 20 million is about where we are. So we don't necessarily need more money, and if by our $15 million calculation. So that's something that the board is actively considering right now.
Right. So this is Lisa, Greg. I just would add that, while there's a forecast and an assumption, and certainly the co-op has benefited from the increased value of the BTC and the ETH that we received, we're a startup company that has unexpected, things that could happen where it would like to have more resources. And you don't really know how the market's going to look next year. So if there are opportunities to, take in smart money, you really want to take advantage of when it's there and not say, well, I actually don't think I need it right now, and find out 9 months later that you might want it.
Yeah. So, and in this particular case, so I just want to be super clear about this. The co-op is not engaged in conducting another private sale. We're not soliciting this. We're in no way asking for funds. This is a different kind of situation. we had some rocks that were earmarked for sale. Those rocks are still earmarked for sale, so they're available. Community members have come forward, and then there's another motivation that's very crucial to us. And that motivation is that we want to do a disciplined spend down of the co-op treasury so that there's an appropriate distribution of the rocks throughout the market. I think every investor that we've spoken to has, in some way, shape, or form, expressed a concern to the co-op regarding the size of the treasury, right? And the co-op membership expressed itself in terms of wanting to either burn or lock up funds to make sure that the treasury is managed appropriately. From my point of view, getting rocks into the hands of the community is the right thing to do. It's always been our goal. It's been our stated goal since the inception of the co-op. So I see this as one of the ways by which the co-op can get the rocks into the hands of the community and have a sort of disciplined approach to the distribution. And that segues on to another topic, which we'll be talking about shortly. But I just want to make sure that I've answered your questions, Brandon. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so the major concerns for me are, I don't want to be spending time on fundraising if I can fruitfully be spending that time on the development of the technology. So that's why I've made it clear that, we're not conducting a private sale here. I'm what was that? From Jacob to everyone. Anyway, so I'll address your question in a second, Jacob. So we don't want to have fundraising activities getting in the way of development at this point. Our focus is on development. We do want to make sure that if it turns out that Bitcoin is half the price next week or a quarter of the price next week, that the co-op has some insurance. And the current policy with respect to the mix of assets that the co-op has, and again, this is a board resolution which you can go look at in GitHub, is that we do a split across the cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies. So the co-op has a significant exposure to the cryptocurrencies if it turns out that the market is volatile, and it's clearly volatile, which is why we have a significant, why we have to, as Lisa said, be particularly cautious about the assets that we've got. And then the final point, the final motivation, or the final consideration, at least for me, is trying to make sure that we have some kind of disciplined spend down of the treasury.
Producing mercury, yes, but also the utility on top of that makes the platform really useful. And it's to some extent we can spend an unlimited amount of money in supporting applications on it, if not providing them.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to agree with that, Jim. There's so much that we need to do that's just in the way of platform infrastructure, that it is important to have a little bit of wiggle room. So you're absolutely right, which is why I would be considering these offers in the first place at all. Great. So then the other point is that we now have a much more firm set of considerations from Greg Heuss and folks. Greg, I noticed that you were on. Are you still there?
I am. I'm here.
Awesome. I was wondering if you wanted to talk a little bit about what your proposals are, so that the community can get a sense of what the board is considering.
Sure. Myself in a group with Steve Carriaga and David Otto and Nathan Martinez, there's a few of us out there, have proposed It's a situation where we set up a venture group to go out and promote not just future companies that are coming on to build on the RChain platform, but to also promote everything RChain. So what we're looking for is something to the tune of a allotment of rock that we would pay back to the co-op. We would give co-op a percentage ownership into the venture group itself. We would, of course, put some clauses in there that say when the value of the rock goes up, that the clawback would happen. So there would be percentages of an increase that would sort of reach that delta between the price that we get the rock at and where it is at the market when we do have that term. We're proposing 5 years. We're proposing 100 million rock is what we would take in. All of that would be based off of key objectives that we have to hit. What we proposed is that we would be investing in a minimum of 12 companies within the first year. And there's a whole list of sort of KPIs that we would hit, and I'm happy to share that with the group after this call. And basically what would happen is we would ask for half of that allotment of rock to happen upon the signing of the agreement. The other half of the rock would not be allocated to ventures. That's the tentative name of our company. It would not be allocated to ventures until we hit those milestones. So meaning at least 12 companies invested in. We would do a minimum of one event per quarter, whether that is at conferences or to do meetups or whatever that might be. That's sort of the rough outlines of what we're proposing. There's certainly a lot more detail that goes into it behind that. I think for what we've seen, and since Steve and Dave and I were so intricate in the level of fundraising for the company, we have seen a lot of investors and a lot of interest of folks that want to be involved in participating in the development of companies to actually build on the platform which they invested their money in. So all the interest that's there, we want to sort of funnel that. And we believe there's room for more than just our company out there. Of course, there's the holdings group. There's our group. There could be more. And I think that benefits the entire RChain community. To your point, Greg, of what you were talking about earlier, the more rock we can get out there into the community in a smart way to build on the platform is going to benefit all of us. So that's ultimately what we're looking to do.
Thank you, Greg. That was really a nice, clear summary. I was wondering if there are any questions from the community about the proposal.
Greg, could you share more details in Discord? Maybe like an outline of what this would mean for the co-op?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can absolutely do that. A few of the other points, thank you, Jacob. I think that was Jacob. A few of the other points, we're offering a board seat to somebody from co-op. We're proposing that it's Greg, but it could be somebody else. Of course, they would participate within the fund just as an LP, so a limited partner with the same amount of equity that we're giving them, which would be 15% of ventures they would receive. So they would receive the benefit of all of that when those companies do go forward. We're sort of looking at this as an incubation and a venture firm. And we want to bring in a minimum in the first year. Our target is a minimum of $5 million outside that would come into the fund. We certainly think that we can gather that up within the first 6 months, and that's one of the targets that we have. So we have a tremendous amount of interest from outside venture firms, from high net worth individuals that want to put money in to sort of match the rock that's going to be given to us from co-op.
Tell us more about the team. I mean, you mentioned Greg and Steve, but I mean, I'm considering putting $5 million into co-op, and I'd only get probably far fewer rock than 100 million. And Greg wouldn't be on my board, and I wouldn't be investing. I wouldn't own the $5 million. I'd have given it to co-op. I wouldn't have that to create 12 new startups. So it seems a little bit of an uneven, like when I'm just comparing side by side right now. And I actually emailed this to Greg earlier in the week, anticipating something like this and me comparing the two options, because I could very easily get two people and want to pull off the same deal. And it looks like it would make way more sense for me to try and do that than just invest in co-op and give the money to co-op, which is unfortunate in a sense because I want to fund co-op and the developers. But I think it should be, in some way, we should be able to do the math where we say, okay, the math adds up. These are like, these deals calculate out to be fair for the co-op.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jacob. So when you approached the co-op, you were not approaching the co-op as a venture fund. You were approaching the co-op to purchase rock. So when Greg approached the co-op, he approached the co-op as a venture fund, and he's not asking to purchase anything. He's asking for a loan, which effectively comes with a particular interest rate. So these are different deals, and they're with different intentions behind them.
No.
So, is there someone who wants to speak? Sorry, it sounded like there was someone who wanted to chime in on the conversation. So the if your intention is to start a venture group and build a bunch of companies that are bound to be using RChain as a platform, then that's a different discussion, right? But I have the original offer you put on the table. It was to purchase rocks, right? So that's the thought. Now, if you're thinking about putting your $5 million into RChain Ventures, that's a great idea. I mean, I'm not opposed to that at all, and that might fill up their slot. And the other thing is you could also put $5 million into holdings. So there are lots of different ways that you can do this. The question you have to ask yourself is, what is it you want to do with your money, and where do you think it's going to end up supporting the things that you're trying to the things that you're trying to get done?
Of course. Is there a third option for me to put the folks and the team together to do RChain Medora, just like there's holdings and ventures potentially?
Again, so there is all of this we intend to get done before the end of the year. After the 31st, the co-op is much more circumscribed in terms of what it can do with respect to these kinds of deals. And I'm certainly not going to be pursuing them and be moving at a much slower pace with respect to these. So if you feel that you can put together such a team in the remaining, what's today? Today's the 13th, is that right? The remaining 18 days, did I get the math right? Put it on the table. I mean, the co-op will consider it.
Well, that is I think you made a clarification for me, which is I thought that maybe these incubator deals weren't circumscribed by the member resolution to get 200 million rocks into circulations. But because I thought maybe it wasn't considered a sale as a member.
I have to be squeaky clean. The co-op the board has to be super clean with respect to the membership intentions, right?
Okay, cool. So thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So I'm really excited about all this activity. To me, this is super positive. I'm just thrilled that there's so much engagement on all these fronts. I just can't say how happy I am that so many people are so engaged, and the number of requirements that we're getting in terms of applications now for the platform is growing, and they're becoming crisp and clear, and that's what we need. So our milestone list is getting much crisper, much clearer, and the kinds of applications that we want to support and how they fit together into a larger picture of providing the kind of vision of the market that we would like to support is also beginning to emerge. So that's that to me is indicative that we're kind of making the right calls, so to speak. But again, I'm open to anyone who has a different opinion. We really want to make sure that all voices are included. Okay, So unless there's any more on that point, okay, let's see. Christian, which Greg was that pointed to? Me or Greg Heuss?
That's funny, Greg. The other Greg. Yeah, you're good.
Greg Heuss.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. No worries. So moving right along, Jim, I was wondering if you could give us an update from the governance committee regarding the governance forum. And I'd like to have a little bit of a discussion about the governance piece in the remaining 22 minutes.
All right. Well, we have a lot of activity in the GitHub governance project. And we're planning for the governance conference coming up in February. And there's a Doodle date picker, and there's a Google form for checking locations that you want to have it. And I think we just have 3 locations on the form now based on input from the committee. Seattle, Denver, and St. Pete, Tampa Bay. There has been a mention in the members meeting of the possibility of a Utah location, which got a resounding thumbs down. We have started documents for the Declaration of Interdependence and the Constitution. There hasn't been a lot of activity there. There'll be some updates soon in the Discord governance topics channel.
Hey Jim, with respect to the dates, the board kind of was
in the forum channel.
Co-op would be I think really helpful, especially as we start to look for engagement with Washington State representatives if we were to hold our governance forum in Washington State.
So Greg, let's talk about that, because I've been in contact with them, and there's a lot of interest.
Yeah, good, very good. So I think
it's a lot for the sociocratic polyarchy is something to be considered because it reflects the strong organization with good potential for collective intelligence without a hierarchy, interconnected teams or circles. And the social ledger is a tool to do that, and we're looking to put that into Discord if we can get somebody to do that.
Have the dates for the LICA conference? Because I have to start visas.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can also. I literally did my visa a week and a half before the conference this year. That was like rushed. Obviously, you do not want to do that. Obviously, the dates still haven't been decided, but I'll talk to them again and try to get them to decide when that's happening.
Okay, great. Yeah, I don't mean to take up the meeting with the logistics, but again, part of the reason that this is so important for the co-op is that we want to make sure that there's a path for the RChain nodes to the exchanges. And so, for example, right now we have kind of the hello node release that's planned in the next little bit. So if we could get that into the hands of our engineers and explain how the release path is just going to add more and more features to the Hello node, that will help get them socialized with our bits and help get them into our release process, which is exactly what I'm aiming for with respect to part of our role. So that's why LICA is one of our go-to places this year to make sure that we have.
Okay. So Greg, sorry to interrupt you, but literally I just messaged Sergey on Telegram, and he said that the dates are now final, February 1st and 2nd. And I also invited him to potentially come to, we got the confirmation from the theater. So February 1st and 2nd is going to be the LICA conference in Perm. And then I'm going to invite these guys to come to Seattle. Do you need to be aboard? Do you need to be aboard Discord? Do you need to be a member of the co-op to attend the conference in Seattle?
Yeah, I would say it would be a good idea, but hey, they should just be joining anyway.
Okay. Okay. I mean, $20. Yeah, we can sort that out. So Greg, if you can make it, I know it's around your birthday. So the February 1st and 2nd is the date.
Okay. All right.
He said Greg would be a great fit to the scaling blockchain session. So,
okay. So they want to. Okay. Very good. So that's the kind of. There you have it, folks. RChain in operation in real time. Okay. Exactly. Okay. So I think that about covers all we were going to cover. Lisa, if you're still on, do you have any update from our accountants regarding the tax situation?
I do. And I will, but can I just first begin with introducing Tim McCain. Can you see our picture now? I don't know.
Yay. You could shift, Tim, if you could move a little bit. There you go.
Yes.
Hey,
So
Tim.
Tim has joined us. He is a student at UW-Bothell, and he's going to be helping me with the accounting, and it's great to have him joining. He's got one more test tonight, so wish him well on that, and then he will be a great help. Okay, so in terms of the discussion with Hunt Jackson, so here is where they stand taking a look at the private token sale. Because everything, it was so, well laid out to make sure we didn't go against security laws. They don't see the private token sale as being characterized by the IRS as some type of equity or security investment. If that were the case, then there wouldn't be any taxation. So that avenue isn't open. And so what they are exploring in terms of sort of, is it a taxable type of transaction, is the idea that the token really, or the rev, doesn't matter, it's the same concept, really represents deferred revenue. In other words, when the co-op is selling it, somebody has, the way I've been sort of using the analogy of a movie ticket, they have a movie ticket that is going to get them into the movies, whether or not they need one ticket to get in or 10 tickets, that's irrelevant. They have an ability to engage in some way at the movies. And that, and so there isn't really revenue to the business until that person comes in and we provide them the service, so that the token sales really represent deferred revenue. And then from the IRS standpoint, if that characterization is right, and we think it's pretty good, from an IRS standpoint, you can defer revenue for 1 year. So from the private token sale, that works really well because we've raised money really in anticipation of developmental development expenses next year, and those would all be deducted really against that revenue, and so there wouldn't be this, tax burden. So that's where looking at the taxability of the private token sale stands. They are still exploring the idea of the 501c12. They don't see really any downside to applying for that status at the co-op. And if it gets accepted, then there's even, further barriers to taxation of any net income. But you won't know that until that application gets in front of the IRS and they look at it. And it's such an unusual category. It would be hard to make a bet on it, right? But there's nothing preventing us from doing that. And so, that would be my suggestion, that we go forward with that application to the board. So that's the update. They're continuing to research on the deferred revenue and strengthen the arguments there. And I think that's good news.
Yeah, that's good. What about the 501?
Oh, that's what I was just talking about. They don't see any harm in applying for that status.
Okay, good.
And but they just don't really know how the IRS. It's so unusual. They can't really predict, like, yeah, it's a sure thing or it's a stretch. They just can't. They just simply have said, you know what, you could just do that as further prevention of having your income taxed.
Cool. Very good. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I'm really happy about it too.
Yeah, very, very good. Thank you for the update. We should probably put together a financial status report before the end of the year. So maybe next Wednesday is probably the last opportunity before people start dropping off for holiday things.
Yeah,
I'm
happy to do that. I was actually ready to do it last week, but there was so much on the agenda that I didn't really speak up. But I'll plan on doing it for next week and have it go through November.
Fantastic. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, always, it's like if things are, if I'm yammering on, just interrupt me and say, dude.
Yeah. You always say
awesome.
interesting things, so.
Cool. Okay, so there's only one other bit, which is I thought is Jonathan still on? Automatically?
Yes, hello.
Hello, hey.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I was wondering, I know you're still just getting your feet wet and getting everything going, but have you had a chance to follow up on your conversation with Trevor? Or
yeah, I've had some back and forth with Trevor. I think he's really busy this week with some presentations, and I also reached out to Yuta, who seems to be traveling a bit. So nothing to report in those regards yet.
Okay, very good. Well, just keep us in the loop as you make progress.
And continue to throw me any other leads that you want me to follow up on, okay?
Will do, absolutely, for sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, well, look at this. There's 4 minutes left in the hour, and I don't have anything else on the agenda. Does anyone else have anything they want to chat about before we yield back to the community?
I have one really quick question concerning the allocation of RChain holdings in crypto versus fiat. Is there a target percentage?
Yes, there is. Yes. So if I recall correctly, we have about 2/3 in crypto, 1/3 in fiat. And the reasoning there is essentially that we walk the walk. So if we are attempting to essentially get to a world which is entirely crypto, we need to be minimizing as much as possible our fiat footprint.
And how frequently will that be balanced?
That's a great question. Lisa, do you want to chime in there as to what you think some guidance?
Well, we're still struggling on the exchange idea, getting an exchange up and running. Where I'm still working on Gemini. I got a little put off by the GDAX because it didn't seem like it wanted token sale money, and I don't think it's in the interest of the co-op to, work with that type of exchange that is worried about that. So it's actually sort of a struggle to go from crypto into fiat in a large amount. So we've had some ability. We certainly have enough fiat for the co-op's purposes, and that's my first concern, that we do have to pay payroll taxes, things like that in US dollars. So I want to make sure that we've got a strong reserve, and we do. And then working to get on an exchange that will allow us then to have an ongoing spigot, and then we can work to getting to the goal.
Yeah, the rock was listed on Qcoin yesterday.
Yes, yeah. It's not the exchanges like the Ether Delta or the Bittrex. What we need is an exchange that goes from crypto to dollars. And so you've got just really a few. You've got obviously Coinbase and GDAX. They're one. They have the same policy. And you've got Gemini, which is where I'm sort of pursuing now. And there's Kraken. But I want to have, Kenny has been very helpful in this area. And so I need to talk to him a little bit about Kraken, some questions I have about that. So I'm pointing out that, we're not at our goal, but it's not because we don't, want to abide by the objective. It's just been a lot harder to hit it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, Lisa's really got her finger on this. The issue is that with a lot of the exchanges that we work with, it's difficult to move at the volume. So, and in particular, Washington State is in a somewhat compromised position because a lot of the exchanges have fled. Right. The only exchange left standing is Bittrex, and it's often difficult for us to move at the volumes that we need to move at in order to get things balanced. So it's a great question, Jonathan. I really appreciate your question because it helps clarify some of the mechanics of the kind of hoops we have to jump through in order to get things done.
Yeah, I'm just talking to Sergey and talking about that as well. I mean, they're changing jurisdictions again, and they have multiple jurisdictions all around the world. So I mean, it's a very strange position crypto's in right now because I mean, the governments can just shut down these exchanges. There's like literally nothing stopping these governments from doing that, right? Yeah. And that forces everything underground. So we're not there yet because everyone's happy and making money. But when real bear markets set in, we're gonna see who's left standing. I really want to see that.
Oh no, you're absolutely right, Christian. I think you've really hit the nail on the head. And Lisa, we should be looking at Cumberland mining as one of the exchanges. I think Ian's mentioned this a couple of times. It's one of the few.
Reminder.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, it's 12:01. I have to jump over to another meeting. As always, it's enlightening, enlivening, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys next week.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao.
Ciao for now.